guys, it's Fenda and I'm back with a new video. Today I'm going to be reviewing The 39 Deaths of Adam Strand by Gregory Galloway. Just a quick little disclaimer, this book is very heavy on the topic of suicide and depression and delves in depth about it, so that's just a trigger warning for those of you who are quite sensitive to such issues. So we follow the story of 17-year-old Adam Strand, and he has committed suicide 39 times. It's not that he has attempted to do so and failed, he does indeed die, he just doesn't seem to stay dead. Regardless of the methods he uses, he always comes back physically unharmed. This book is basically Adam retelling his story. It begins one summer in his 16th year up until the present day. We also have flashbacks to the earlier points of his life with him describing how it all began and explaining each of his suicides. Adam Strand isn't depressed, he's just disaffected and bored. He doesn't want to follow the system of living a mundane life where he has to go to school, build up a future and work just to sustain himself. He doesn't want to be forced to live a life he didn't ask for in the first place, and he looks around at his parents and the people around him and he thinks it's just utter ridiculousness. So he decides to take himself out of the rotation without really thinking of the effects it have on those around him. He thinks that no one really cares because at this point everyone thinks he's doing it for attention, considering it has happened 39 times. Which brings me to my point. When starting this book, I was kind of confused as to how that was possible, successfully killing yourself and then resurrecting again. I didn't know if it was some cool fictional thing that was added to the book to sort of tone down the seriousness, or if it was something metaphorical that Gregory Galloway was getting at. Perhaps it was, but that's never explained. My personal theory is that maybe Adam Strand had the Lazarus syndrome, or otherwise known as the Lazarus phenomenon. He's been taken to therapy, yes. His parents and his brother try to somewhat become closer, but in reality they're just drifting apart from each other because he doesn't want to talk about it and he doesn't know how to translate that to his family. His problem has now become their problem. That's something I really liked reading about in this book, because sometimes after a suicide attempt the family becomes close-knit, and that's oftentimes written in YA books. And sometimes the family just don't, because they want to understand why this person would want to take their life, and it's just far too complex for the victim to explain. And I think that Gregory Galloway presented that wonderfully in this book. Now I want to talk a little bit about Adam Strand as a character. About a month or two ago, I watched a discussion video by Ashley Jordan, who is Climb the Stacks here on YouTube, where her main question was, are good characters relatable? Now I'll leave a link to that discussion in the description bar down below because I thought it was absolutely great. But basically what she was trying to say is that just because a character isn't relatable doesn't make them a bad character. And I think that comes into play with our character Adam Strand. He is understandable and relatable to some extent when he explains himself, but I wouldn't exactly call him relatable. But that doesn't mean he isn't a good character. I really enjoyed reading about the different view this character had from what I usually have, and I did in fact learn a few things from this book. And in terms of character development, I think that comes into work and stems towards the ending of this book, where Adam kind of sees things from everyone else's viewpoint and learns a little bit more about life. I also loved how in this book we can see the effects that we all have on one another, whether it be from your parents or your friends or your lover. It just shows that our actions and our words can take a toll on someone, even though we think that it's not as affecting as it is. So far I had never read a YA book that so accurately depicted suicide, depression, and its side effects until I picked this book up. I'd also describe this book as a sort of cross between YA and literary fiction. I think this was an amazingly written book circulating the issues of suicide, depression, family ties, love, hurt, and life. The ending of this book wrapped up beautifully and left me feeling satisfied and happy with the time I invested into reading it. It was very engrossing. I finished it in about 2 to 3 days and it just quickly became one of my favorites. I'm definitely also going to be rereading this book because I feel like the more times you read it, the more you're going to be learning something new from it. This book also had wonderful quotes inside it, which there's one that kind of stuck out to me that I'll add in the ending of this video. I haven't read Galloway's first book, which is called As Simple as Snow, just yet, but Galloway is definitely an author to check out with his amazing prose. He takes something so complex and writes it in a way that's so simple for us to understand. I would recommend this book to anyone that liked Looking for Alaska. That's initially how I found this book. I went on a list that recommended people that liked Looking for Alaska, books that they would also like. I'll leave a link to that list in the description bar down below. So if you like Looking for Alaska, I'll definitely give this book a go, although it's so much more darker on suicide. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and took something out of it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.